Hey everybody, it's me and Buster Green. I'm back. I've been depressed. I've been sick. There's a lot of evil in this world. But today I'm feeling better, so I'm gonna try to get up again. All right, so Despicable Me just came out. Wait, no, the sequel. Despicable Me 2. Wait, no, not that one. Despicable Me 4. They made 4 of these. Wow. Oh no, wait. They actually made 6 because the Minion movies technically count in the continuity and are part of the story. Okay, so yeah, this is Despicable Me 4, the 6th movie in the long-running Minions franchise, and people don't seem to like this one. On average, people seem to hate it. I didn't think it was terrible though. So here's where I am with my raw thoughts after watching it. Alright, so this is the 6th Minions movie. The Despicable Me franchise has been going strong for a good 15 years now. And I can never really tell if anyone likes these movies or people like them or too ashamed to talk about it, because it seems like the only people in the world who adamantly like these movies and like praise them are like grandmas on Facebook. But yeah, I guess they're popular enough that they made 6 of them, and I think there's a ride at Universal Studios, or at least like a statue of a guy in a Minions costume there. Maybe it's like Mr. Bean, where back in the 90s everyone was ashamed to say they liked him, but then when he stopped doing the Mr. Bean thing, everyone was like, hey, Mr. Bean, go back to work. We love you. So yeah, then he made those 2 not as good Mr. Bean movies, and officially he was done. Anyway, yeah, the Minions franchise, it's pretty aggressively mid. My favorite movie of this franchise is probably the first Minions movie, the one that was called Minions. I did actually think that movie was the best one because it broke new grounds in terms of shaking up the franchise formula, as well as being a cool throwback to the 1960s, dissing hard on Orlando, Florida, and probably having one of the best female villains in the franchise, if not cinema as a whole. But once again, that's just me. Everyone else seems to hate that one. And anyway, so now let's talk about the 6th one that everyone seems to hate too. But like I said, I kind of liked it. Like, I would honestly say it was maybe the 2nd or 3rd best film of this franchise. All right, so let me do a quick story summary in case you're not going to watch it and you just want to hear what happens. The main story in this one is that Gru pisses off his old high school archenemy, Maxime Lamal, who is a super cockroach guy, and they have like a history together because back in the 80s they both want to dress up as Boy George for a talent show. This is ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, Gru has to put his family into hiding in like a witness protection situation. And also at the same time this is happening, all the Minions go to work at an office building, and eventually 5 random Minions become super Minions, so the director of the movie can take some meta pot shots at the MCU, which sorta almost works, but sometimes it doesn't. Like the Mega Minions, they contribute nothing to the plot, although they do get like 1 or 2 good jokes in about how the superhero movie trend is well over, and even though this kind of makes it a superhero movie itself, the movie is self-aware about that, and everyone hates them and says that they suck, so it's kind of funny. Anyway, so meanwhile, Gru and his family get moved to this weird New England, Connecticut, Boston-coded sort of upper East Coast kind of town. Everyone's lives kind of suck there. It's a lot like that episode of The Simpsons where the Simpsons moved to another city and only Homer was happy. Anyway, at the same time, like, Gru is having some issues with his baby who either hates him or just likes the mom more. And then Maxime invents a sci-fi ray gun that turns people into these hideous roach human hybrid abominations. It's a kids movie, so they're not that hideous, but they're hideous enough. And he goes on a random road trip looking for Gru and using his ray gun on random people. There's one pretty good joke here where the Roachmobile runs out of gas and then he has a hard time refueling it at a random gas station. Anyway, then the best joke of the movie is that Gru lives next to Stephen Colbert, and Stephen Colbert has a daughter named Poppy Prescott. Poppy is kind of the best character in the movie. She has a weird, disturbingly familiar energy, and she works really well when she's just being an evil, edgelord, 14-year-old girl. She later softens up and eventually becomes friends with Gru, and once that happens, she instantly stops being interesting. But nonetheless, I liked her enough that I hope she comes back if they do make another one of these. Anyway, she forces Gru with blackmail to help her steal a honey badger, and then while they're escaping from like an old lady in a wheelchair, they end up stealing the car from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. In an aggressively old reference that no one is going to fucking remember. Wait, my mom loves Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. My mom probably would have loved that joke. Oh my god, these really are movies strictly made for grandmothers. Anyway, so in a messy climax, the villains find the family, and somehow Maxime succeeds in his horrible plot to steal Gru's baby and turn his baby into a cockroach. However, the plan completely fails when it turns out the baby actually did love the dad deep down inside, and the super minions show up again just long enough to be competent and inadvertently defeat Maxime. And so the status quo is restored, the day is saved, everybody's happy. But then in a surprisingly nice moment at the ending, they all do that lame, all the characters dancing to an 80s song that every single animated movie since Shrek has ended on. But they go back to the prison where all the bad guys are, and they kind of settle the drama between Gru and Maxime, and they also show every single previous franchise villain in the prison. And that was honestly kind of a good moment. It felt like a good closeout to the franchise, fond farewell to every movie that had come before this. Like, if this ended up being the last Despicable Me movie, I felt like that last scene gave me really good closure on the entire franchise as a whole. It was kind of the same ending that Kung Fu Panda 4 was trying to pull off, but this movie did it with so much more class and so properly without shitting and confusing the lore of the previous movies. Although Vector was there, and I thought Vector was on the moon. What's up with that? Alright, so maybe they did shit on the lore a little bit. Anyway, alright, so all these movies are aggressively dumb, and I kind of have to measure the Minions movies not in measurements of like, are they good or are they bad, but in measurements of are they competent or are they clever. So let me just boil this one down to what was good and what was bad about the movie. So yeah, Gru, Minions, all that same old crap. You're either going to like them or hate them at this point. There's literally nothing new about them in this movie as far as they're concerned. So yeah, same old Minions you've gotten for the past 15 years. Now, let me break down what actually is new and good in this movie. So, like I said, the Super Minion stuff, that's really stupid. The Super Minions are just there to specifically diss on Superman, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man. But I will say that the superhero movie disses are surprisingly timely because, as we all know right now, the MCU is on its last legs. Only Deadpool can maybe save it. And DC is officially dead right now in the midst of a messy and unpopular reboot that no one really wants. Though I gotta say, they take some real ancient pot shots in the Super Minion jokes. Like, they make fun of, like, the train scene from Spider-Man 2. I don't know if you realize this, but Spider-Man 2 just turned 20 years old this year. So they're making a joke from 20 years ago now. Anyway, that's that. Another thing I did enjoy, Gru's wife, Lucy. She gets a pretty surprisingly funny subplot where they force her to be a hairdresser with zero training, and she immediately like destroys the hair of this like vengeful crazy rich woman, and then that ends up being a running gag because she comes back later and like tries to kill her. But that subplot has no real ending other than that crazy woman maybe is going to stalk her forever, maybe not. Either way, that was kind of funny. So then, yeah, Poppy Prescott, that's the next best good thing about this movie. Low-key, the best new character the film has. I kind of wish Poppy had become the surprise main villain of the film and not had a weak redemption arc, because she is definitely the most entertaining character of the goddamn movie. Like, I don't know who the fuck she reminds me of, but she's a very weird and interesting character, so I was happy with her. And yeah, the movie has a good ending. It's sappy, but it is a feel-good ending for the franchise that feels very complete and final. And I guess that's about all I can say was great and good about this movie. All right, now time to talk about what I didn't like and what kind of confused me. All right, so the biggest weird question mark that kind of takes this movie down a peg is Maxime Lamal, the main villain. So this character, as far as I'm concerned, he's just lame. He lives in the sewers. He dresses like a stereotypical French fashionista gangster. His cockroach powers are pretty nasty, but they're played up in a weirdly unclever way to make it kid-friendly. And then they establish that he has a cockroach army, and he literally never uses the cockroach army. The cockroach army does nothing. That feels like a massive missed opportunity because cockroaches are gross. Like, they literally could have a whole B-plot about the cockroach army fighting Gru's minion army, but nah, they don't use them. Like, instead they just go for the super minions self-aware meta shit, shitting on superhero movies. The other thing that I don't get about Maxime was like, so he has this Kim Kardashian looking wife, and I thought that was like going to go somewhere, but she doesn't do anything in the entire movie. She barely talks. Sometimes she drives his car. She has a cute dog, and she's basically just a prop so he has something to talk to. And I think it would have been better if he just talked to the roaches, because that would have made him sound like a little bit more unhinged. But yeah, I was really expecting some justification for this character. I was expecting a crazy twist that would like come in at the last second and like explain why she was in the movie. Like maybe she was actually a giant cockroach, or maybe she was like some kind of badass fighter, or maybe Maxime turned her into a cockroach and that was her deal. But nah, nothing like that. Total waste of a character. Like I don't even like comprehend like what she was doing. Like she kind of just seemed like a gold digger character, but she's dating a cockroach man who lives in a sewer. So maybe she is some kind of weird social commentary on like vapid gold digging women. Like maybe that's what she was supposed to be. Was she supposed to be a social commentary? Anyway, I have no idea what this character was supposed to do or exist for. So leave a comment if you have a better idea of what her purpose was. Okay, so I guess I'm done tearing Maxime a new one. I guess he really was the worst thing about the movie for me. Oh, and also, so apparently Will Ferrell was in this movie, and I was really excited because Will Ferrell is a comedy powerhouse. Like back in the day, he had all these funny movies coming out like every 3 months, and then he just got old and kind of stopped. So I was really excited to see Will Ferrell come back and like do something new for like the first time in like probably 10 years, because Will Ferrell has like kind of like retired from acting. Like the last time I saw him was like the Barbie movie, and he was just playing the exact same character he played in the Lego movie. And so wait, who did he play in this movie? Oh, he played Maxime. Whoa, the hell? Okay. So I'm shocked he disappeared into that role, or maybe I didn't recognize him through the extremely thick French accent he was pulling off. Was he like trying to compete with Steve Carell's bad Russian Gru accent? Well, anyway, yeah, Maxime just was not the best villain in the franchise. I guess he was okay considering the quality of the franchise. And I'll say at least like his giant menacing roach car was the coolest thing about him. Okay, so yeah, moving on. Maxime was not a great villain. The next thing, as long as I'm taking shots at the cast, so Stephen Colbert is in this one. And as usual, Stephen Colbert just kind of phoned it in. That really didn't impress me at all. All right, so here's the thing about Colbert. Colbert and Steve Carell have a history together. They started out together in Second City when they were younger, and they also used to be on The Daily Show for several years as like arch enemies there, until their paths detangled, and one became a great movie star, and the other became a weird, ego-obsessed talk show host. Now, I was really excited to see Colbert in this movie because I thought he's up against his old buddy Steve Carell. They're going to have a scene together. And they do have a scene together, but that scene just wasn't up to the standards of like their previous work or their old-fashioned randomness. And I expected more from Colbert. Like, all that happens in their scene is they play tennis together, and the minions interfere with Colbert and basically destroy Colbert's character before Carell really has a chance to interact with him. Other than Carell turning to the audience and winking and being like, "Hey everybody, fuck this guy, am I right?" I guess overall, I would say that if Colbert had been in the movie a little bit more, with like maybe more to do, I think I could have like increased my respect for Colbert, because I kind of need to see at this point that Colbert is still a viable actor. And in like the last couple of movies he's been doing, he's just like cameoing as himself. And this was like his chance to really like stand out again, but he failed. Like he's just doing the same shitty thing he does every night where he barely acts. He just plays a variation of his famous hard-ass, ego-obsessed Stephen Colbert character. And I was disappointed in that because I really thought he would like bring his A game for this, and he really didn't. I guess the last problem I have in this movie is Gru's kids, the girls. All right, so I used to love the girls. The girls have been in every movie. I would say the girls are the main thing that makes the first movie work, and they are actually some of my favorite characters in the franchise as a whole. But the thing is that in every sequel since the first movie, they've been getting less and less screen time, becoming less and less relevant as the fucking minions like urkel them out of their own movie franchise. And at this point, it's gotten pretty sad. So this has the least amount of girls as like any of the movies, and yeah, they've basically kind of been like sub-benched, you know? Like, it seems like she had an entire subplot that was cut out of the movie where she's being bullied, and we only get like a taste of that because she's only in like 2 scenes. And same thing with the other girls. The only other thing going on with them is they go to a karate class against a character who seemed super coded as Seth Rogen, but was not played as Seth Rogen, played by like an imposter Seth Rogen. Anyway, they also share some like low participation in some of the Lucy and Gru scenes, and that's it. Like, okay, and also here's one of the biggest plot holes in the movie. So this is now Despicable Me 4, and prior to this, none of the characters have ever aged. Not a big deal, because my headcanon was that the first 3 Despicable Me movies happened in a single time frame of a single year. Maybe they happened in like January, February, and March. Maybe they happened in like January, June, and August. Who the hell knows? So this movie officially breaks that reality by introducing Gru Jr., Gru's 1-year-old baby. And the fact he is a 1-year-old baby implies that there's been like at least a 2-year time skip between this movie and the third one, and the girls haven't matured at all. They haven't even changed their goddamn clothes, and that seems like a major plot hole at this point. Look, if they make more of these movies, the girls have to age to continue the story. If the story ends here, then so be it. But if they make Despicable Me 5, all the characters should be a little bit older. All right, I'm barely going to comment on the Gru Jr. baby character because he's just a bland baby. He feels aggressively like they just threw him in so they could make jokes about babies. And yeah, that's about it. In total, Minions 6, Despicable Me 4 probably gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Numbers. I did laugh a few times. There are a couple of good jokes here. I enjoyed the art. I enjoyed the Lucy subplot. I enjoyed the Roach cart. I enjoyed Poppy while Poppy was evil. I do not like the villain. I have very strong thoughts about him. I thought he was weird. I thought they underused Will Ferrell, and they definitely underused Stephen Colbert, but maybe that was Stephen Colbert's fault. I'm a bit confused at what comes after this movie for this franchise. It feels really like this was subtly set up to just be like the last one ever, and maybe it will be. I think if this is the last one ever, I think it's a high end for the franchise, but they'll probably make Minions 3 because the Minions franchise is just such a guaranteed cash cow, but who knows. Anyway, if Despicable Me 5 does become a thing, they really need to get the children to age, because at this point, it's starting to look like the fact they haven't aged is a weird continuity error, and I don't like it. This movie felt like it really didn't know what to do with the kids. It barely gave them each 2 scenes in the plot, and maybe if the kids were a little bit older, they could take them to some new places. Alright, so that's all I have to say about this movie. I'll try to post again when I have something else going on or something else inspires me. Maybe I'll finish playing Megaton Musashi on stream, or maybe I'll finish that Gundam narrative review I've been writing for a year. Alright, thanks for coming by, everybody. Later.